it's amazing how business is so enjoyable when you're doing it with good humans. Conversely, business is such a prick of an act, when you're dealing with arseholes. So guys and gals, really we step out of, I talked a bit about last week, I talked about team building and leadership. I'm telling you, sometimes handling disputes and legal challenges, just trying to avoid the knuckleheads. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. I'm your host, my name is Max. I'm the CEO here at Smith & Sons. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. I appreciate you chiming in and having a look around. If you've just joined us for the first time, welcome. If you're a long-time listener or viewer, we really appreciate you hanging around. It's great to have you with us. Don't forget, like and subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. Leave us a comment. Be as nice as you can. Shoot me an email if you've got something special to say, or if you've got a question, max at elitebusinessadvisory.com. And don't forget, go and have a look at that website if you're interested in taking your business to the next level, systemizing, marketing better, managing people better, all that sort of stuff. Definitely can help you in that regard. So I'd love to have a quick chat with you for 30 minutes on Zoom and just seeing what we can put together there. Don't forget, Business for Builders, VIP, answer the questions, and if you're a good sort, I'll let you in. And I think, that's a place where there's a bit of camaraderie and a bit of community going on, and certainly some collaboration as well. All right, we are into part 5. I hope you're enjoying the series. I'm rushing through a lot of information. I'm really asking you to double down as a business operator and take responsibility. We are not dishing up baby food right now. What I'm asking you to do is grab the macro headings and go and start doing your own homework. Go and find some of the answers. It's impossible for me to give you customized coaching like I do with my elite business advisory clients. Because that is very customized. Okay, this is very general. It's very overarching topics, but hopefully enough detail that will trigger something within you to highlight. As a coach, what I can do is maybe bring awareness on the show. And then as far as education goes, there's a little bit here, but you really need to go and double down and do some of that research on your own. So, we're really going to have, I hope you're enjoying this, the 6-part series that we're just about to wrap up next week. But, I like the idea of doing these series, if that's a word. Putting these together as a series, I think really gives you a really good resource that you can hit the 3 dots, save the episodes, and you can go back and revisit and use it as a resource for you to develop systems within your business. Okay, there's obviously a few steps. You can get free content and information here. Great. You can shoot across to the elitebusinessadvisory.com/academy, where I deal a lot in 21 Silver Bullets, which is straight out of the Vern Harnish book, Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. And so there's 21 Silver Bullets over there that for a very small investment, you can train yourself. You can start to familiarize yourself with the concept. And then at some point in the future, if you're really interested in going through the 5 steps to freedom and really taking your business from chaos stage into control stage, and really hitting a prosperity stage where the business starts to make money, then really, I guess some business coaching is definitely going to really help expedite the process and save you some of the scars and the skin off the knees like I have got. All right, part 5 today. What we're going to chat about is legal and compliance consideration as it relates to business development. Now, this is something that I guess, I wouldn't say I enjoy, but when I'm building a business over here, and there's a vulnerability over here, and this is why it's important in the strategic planning session that we do a lot of, we start to understand the SWOT analysis, is where we investigate what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, our opportunities and our threats, and we really ensure that we are mitigating some of that risk as it relates to the weaknesses and the threats. And so legal and compliance considerations as it relates to general contractors and business development. I've got a few points down here, and we're just going to have a quick chat about a few different aspects, and I'll throw in a few comments in and around these. Number 1, navigating legal requirements and regulations in the construction industry. I think it goes without saying. We all understand that there is legal requirements on our part. There's regulations in the construction business that we need to abide by. I think what you need to do is just take stock, do a little bit of investigation, and figure out what it is in your area, as it relates to legal requirements and the regulations in the construction business, depending on what you're doing. Now, if you're in the commercial world, it's going to be very different to the residential world. If you're in the residential world, but you're doing renovations and remodeling, probably going to be very similar to those guys doing new custom homes. So you just need to consider that and how you go about navigating through those legal requirements. Point number 2, mitigating risk through comprehensive contract management. I speak with clients every day or every week, and, I'm amazed that really, all due respect, but some of these industry associations, the contractual documentation that they provide is better than nothing. At least it's something. But I think, it would pay you to, if you're going to mitigate risk, like point 2 says, through comprehensive contract management, you need to do what I did. So I was always of the opinion that something's better than nothing. However, there needs to be a lot of gaps filled in some fairly, basic industry documentation. Things like latent conditions, change order policy, like inclement weather, things like authority to take photographs on, building sites and things like that. You can do so much work to really, build or provide a good product and experience for the client. And, a lot of what we do in this day and age, especially with digital, we want to be able to post those photos online. Nothing worse than getting an email from either a client or a client's legal counsel saying, cease and desist, remove that shit from from your website. That's a little bit, that's a little bit embarrassing. But I think when we're talking about contracts, I've had some builders who are no longer with Smith & Sons that have said to me, no, I'm not going to put a completion date on. Like, that just screams to me lack of accountability, lack of responsibility. Once he doesn't want to make that commitment, and it's gutless, and I just don't understand why you do it, because as much as that contract, there is a commitment from my side and the client's side. That's the way it is. That's what an agreement does. We're basically, we want to reach the similar or same goal, and you're going to pay me to help you do that. That's the deal, essentially. And so, as much as it is there to protect us, it also protects the client as well. So, guys, please don't underestimate the importance. If you're in Canada, the Canadian Home Builders Association have got generic contracts there. If you're in Australia, the Home Housing Industry Association or Master Builders, and probably in America or in the States, the National New Home Association. Crikey, I've messed that up completely. My apologies to the guys in the States. Is it NHAB? No. Anyway, hey, can someone send me an email to correct that cock up, because I can't remember off the top of my head. I can see their logo, but I can't remember how they stitched that name together. So, I think getting something from them is better than nothing. But their classic within their contract is that anything on, let's say in Australia, New Zealand, it's called variations. In North America, it's called change orders. But what they'll say, and I remember doing this, it says that you're legally able to charge and include a 20% margin in your variations or in your change orders. Now, if you don't know, 20% margin is essentially a 25% markup. Okay? So I know when I was doing it, I marked shit up by 20% because I thought that's what the 20% they were referring to. But what they're actually referring to is, Max, you could mark up by 25% and make 20. So this is why, when you haven't got somebody close to you that can help you out, that's the kind of thing that costs you money. And it's normally the smaller things that over a long period of time, which is going to, really eat out your bottom line. So make sure that you are mitigating the risk through having good contracts, and don't be afraid. Like, I know I got my Smith & Sons Canada contract drawn up, cost me $2,700 or something like that. Small price to pay to make sure you've got everything in order, and that gives you that peace of mind as well. Point number 3, address safety regulations and compliance on construction sites. This is one that if you ever come on with as a elite business advisory client, I love chatting with builders and asking them questions, because guys and girls, questions are the answers. So I love chatting with builders and asking them the question, hey, what's your standard operating procedure if there is an accident on site? Do you have a fire extinguisher and a first aid kit? Is there directions on the back of the safety signage that will tell you where the nearest hospital is? What is the process? Who is the crisis manager in that situation? Who do they call first? Because I keep saying to builders that, we might have a great run. We have an excellent business coach, builder, professional relationship, and we really do kick some goals and we implement all of the, relevant and necessary best practices in your business. And then because we didn't address something as it relates to, safety regulations and compliance on construction sites, you leave yourself open. And so, I want you to think about, it's funny, I use the story about when we jump on an aircraft and we decide to go anywhere in an aircraft, for that matter, commercial aircraft, that is, they will have to go through the safety protocol. And, it's ironic, they will just say in the unlikely event of an accident. Now, for me, touch wood, there's not been a lot of situations, really, I probably could count them on my left hand, of where I've been on site or have been the builder on a project whereby there's been a pretty serious accident. So it doesn't happen very often, but I know in downtown Kelowna a few years back, a crane on a high-rise building, it collapsed and killed a guy. It killed the crane operator and a few people on the ground. So, stuff does happen, and I don't know what happened with that, but I know the directors of that company would be lawyering up, let's say. That was probably what they were jumping straight to. So make sure that your safety protocols, make sure that you don't diss the local authority in your province or your state. Something that I show a lot of new builders coming into Smith & Sons here in Canada is, I play a video that's put together by WorkSafe BC about a roofer who basically come full circle. He was a bit of a redneck and didn't particularly, operate very well and didn't respect safety as much as he should have, disrespected the WorkSafe inspectors as well, got a few fines, and then turned his business around. And I really use that 15-minute video or whatever it is, 8-minute video, to really demonstrate the level of safety that I want in the business, and the attitude, more importantly, to safety and compliance on our building sites. Because again, if something happens, it really does affect the brand, whether it's your brand or my brand. It really, the negative impact is significant. So just keep that one in mind as well. Point number 4, understanding and managing liability in construction process. That really flows from one end to the other. Remember, we're talking about legal and compliance considerations. Understanding and managing the liability in construction projects is important. You've got to make sure you've got the appropriate amount of insurance. Please don't start a job if you don't have either public liability if you're in Australia or general commercial liability if you're in North America. It really just doesn't. It's just not good business. It's quite dishonest, to be honest. So make sure you've got all of those boxes ticked, and that you're understanding of your obligations. I think ignorance is not a defense. It's, you've really got to educate yourself. You need to understand. I think in the areas of human resource management, that's a bit of a downfall for us builders as well. We seem to think that we've got it sorted, but, I think there's situations where we need to reach out to the relevant professionals in that area. And certainly as it relates to legal and compliance, much like, we did from a franchise perspective, you just got to make sure that all your ducks are in a row and that, you understand the liability if there is any that's on the horizon or in amongst what you do, and know how you can, manage that, especially around on-site stuff as well. Number 5, handling disputes and legal challenges professionally and efficiently. It's funny, this week I normally will ask you in our coaching sessions, what are your wins, what are your losses, and what are your bottlenecks? Wins is great. We love to celebrate those. Losses, if there is a bit of a loss, I want to know what happened, and I want to do a bit of a root cause analysis to identify why the gap appeared, and then take the appropriate action to avoid that happening again in the future. And then, of course, bottlenecks, I want to know really where the business is, where the pinch points are, where the jackknifing. But just recently, I only this week started to also then add on to the back of that disputes, because it was ironic. This week was just full of them. There was all kinds of stuff going on. And I think, as a builder, handling those disputes and legal challenges in a professional way and doing it efficiently, it is fairly individual, and I make sure, I don't give legal advice. That's not my place. I'm not a a lawyer. But there is situations where you can do the basic math. And I guess based on my experience and having seen and been around enough to know that sometimes it's going to suck the life out of you, not just financially, but mentally. Because the minute you've got to apply any thought process to something negative going on in your business any longer than you must is a complete waste of good creative energy. So, I think it's important that we think about the investment that we're going to make personally, not necessarily and physically, not necessarily just financially, and just think about the burden that it will be on you. And what happens with that is that if you can't help but not take that home. And so what that does is that doesn't just lean on you while you're in the office or on site. That kind of thing leans on you 24/7. You go to bed thinking about it, you wake up thinking about it, and it's a bit of a harsh environment. So what we want to do, my piece of advice from personal experience is in a situation where there is a dispute, I think, you want to try and achieve a fair and equitable outcome. You want to ask the other party what it is that they want. And then I know that compromise is part of the deal. If there is a dispute, no one person gets their way completely, because even if somebody's fully in the right, you're going to really have to spend a bit of legal cash to, have that thing, sorted out. So at some point, it's probably easier to just compromise and do a bit of a deal and then start injecting or using that energy for good creative purposes and business building purposes rather than, the lawyers must love it when people go, well, it's about principle. And I'm like, mate, I understand and I get it and I've thought that and I've probably even said it. But at the end of the day, mate, it's exponentially better for me just to get after it and go back to doing what I do well, and that is building business. Because more often than not, we are dealing with humans who are, well, I don't even know what's a nice way of saying it, but we're dealing with humans that can be real pricks and selfish, and that's why I think when I think about all the mistakes I've made in that regard, and I think about how that I didn't really focus on the core values that are on the wall in my conference room, and that I didn't simulate stress, and that I didn't use psychometric profiling. It's amazing how business is so enjoyable when you're doing it with good humans. Conversely, business is such a prick of an act, when you're dealing with arseholes. So guys and gals, really we step out of, I talked a bit about last week, I talked about team building and leadership. I'm telling you, sometimes handling disputes and legal challenges, just try and avoid the knuckleheads. That's the way it is. But what I do for my clients is that when they do come to me with the dispute, with the issues, you can tell they're very emotionally wrapped up, and rightfully so. I would be too. And it's just great. They can, I just had one recently email me and he said, I'm going to say this and I'm going to tell him this and blah, blah, blah. And all I did was just said, look, you got valid points. But these are my observations. I wouldn't say that because of that. I would be very categoric there. That's going to lead to a back charge, and then just issue payment that's fair and equitable, and see what the outcome is. So I think we've got to try and I've said this before, when your emotions go up, your ability to make good decisions goes down, and so we want to try and really push ourselves back into a position where we are not emotional, which people that know me will say that I'm not the right guy to talk about that, because I do wear my heart on my sleeve and I get pretty passionate and pretty vocal about what's going on. So, that has its good side and its very tricky side as well. So, be sure to, handle yourself professionally. And, in situations like that, I would say the less you say, the better. Just deal with the facts. Focus on the facts and focus on the outcome, and be prepared to negotiate and compromise. And that really, when you talk about trying to handle disputes and legal challenges efficiently, because it's all about the dough. I might tell a story one day about my rock and roll band experience, and I'll have a bit of a story about that later. It's just about efficiently, so that you choose your battles and you choose when you go in, but you make sure you're dealing with the facts at all times, and you maintain a level of professionalism. Guys, if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. Be sure that, something that I heard that was said in the building game as it relates to safety is that in the event there's an accident on your site, ignorance is not a defense. Oh, sorry, Mr. Inspector, I didn't know that was happening, or I didn't know there was a big trench in the ground, or I didn't know there was no handrail on that deck, or whatever. That is not a defense. You've got to show that you've applied a high level of duty of care and due diligence as it relates to, implementing safety. And so ignorance is not a defense as it relates to safety. And you need to stay up to date and educated. And, I think that's where liaising with industry associations, they've got to justify their own existence. I get Canadian home builders emails once or twice a week about all kinds of stuff. I get the magazine. It's just a good way to keep your finger on the pulse as it relates to changes in legislation, changes in policy, and anything the lawmakers are doing. It's always good to have your finger on the pulse. Hope you enjoyed that one. Like and subscribe, leave a comment, shoot me an email, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. Go visit elitebusinessadvisory.com. Book a consultation with me if you'd like to chat a little bit about your business. Help me get to know it and see if I can help you in 30 minutes or so. And we can chat about, what we do in the coaching world for business owners, general contractors, etc. as well. Go and visit Business for Builders VIP. That's a private group where we've got a bunch of general contractors and builders in a few countries, a bunch of community camaraderie and collaboration going on there. Get in there, ask some questions. Guys, if you listen to this and you're already in B4B VIP, please don't be shy. I can see how many people view certain posts, and these guys are asking questions because they need help. And I'm meeting with a guy tomorrow who did exactly that. Had a question about a certain thing that we do, how we do business, and I just said, mate, the best thing you can do is get amongst it and book a 30-minute call with me. So don't be shy. Come talk to me. And not much space in the calendar on a weekly basis, but do get in there and see if there's space that suits you. It'll give you an idea on your time zone, what's up. So, get after it. Keep it safe. Make sure you're taking care of legal and compliance in your business, and go build a kick-ass business. See you next time. Cheers.